Okay, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about emasculated men, and in particular how to find our benevolent power again. Okay, enjoy. So, I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and he was just reflecting that it seems to be a common subject at the moment, this thing about emasculating men, and that many men feel like they're emasculated. And in the work that I do part-time, I work with animals. And one of the things you see working with animals is the males who haven't been castrated, like the rams or the stallions, the cockerels. It's like they're fearsome on one level. They have this real boom presence and power. And as humans, as human males, we have that same power. And yet we seem to have lost it. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, how we can reclaim that benevolent power. There's been much talk recently about toxic masculinity, about the negative side. But what's not been talked about much is the benevolent side of masculinity. And we can say that, a lot of the qualities that are out there is toxic masculinity. But we also need to just say, rather than just shaming men, we have to say, okay, that's not on, but what is on? And that's what I want to talk about a bit today, is how we go from feeling emasculated that, okay, this is not right, but rather than just living in shame and going, I'm no good, I'm less than. So no, actually, there's a lot of power within you. I'm going to talk about very briefly, some ideas about that. So, in my own life, I can remember in my late 20s, I really felt like I was a boy. And I did a lot of deep work, working with Jungian analysts, living in a Buddhist monastery for several years, and that really helped me, being around benevolent males, to start to see, what is it to be a man? In my 30s, I really got into studying the archetypes and started doing men's groups, doing shamanic work, and I found that really helped me to connect to what it is to be a mature male. And as I see it, it's an ongoing journey. And yet, my wife was giving a talk on, I think it was Friday night, to a group of teenagers, and she was saying that if you look at the leaders, especially in government, a lot of them are boys. They're not men. They have not learned what the mature male archetypes are about. And this is what I want to talk about today. In particular, this is how I see we reclaim our benevolent power, is connecting to the king, to the magician, the warrior, the lover. These are known as the Lord of the Four Quarters. There's a book out there, I can't remember the author, and he talks about this. So does Robert Moore. Another more recent book by Rob Boothroyd again talks about these mature male archetypes. And how do we become this benevolent self? So I've made a few notes, and the first thing is to start learning about them. It's like these stories that we hear, these Grimm's fairy tales with the king, the warriors, the magicians, Merlin, the Arthur legends. These are all telling us these stories about the myths. They're kind of the knowledge. And Robert Moore, in his book King, Magician, Warrior, Lover, he expands on the myths, the legends, and how we bring that energy into our lives. So for me, just very briefly, talking about these, is the first thing, the king, it's about creating boundaries and rules in our life. So it's to do with, maybe it's having that daily routine, and the king energy is, right, I'm getting up at that time. It's having those firm boundaries to say no, to say yes. Another thing with the king is to mix with other kings. And this applies to all four of the archetypes, is join a men's group. And if you can, join a group of initiated men. We don't have rites of passage anymore in society. It's not this given that the boys at the age of 12 or 13 go off with the fathers, the uncles, the grandfathers, and that's basically from then on they learn to become warriors, hunters. They learn how to provide for the tribe. We don't have that anymore, and we just leave the boys to get on with it. So it's important for us, one, to do rites of passage. I've done the Mankind Project, and there's also another project called the Noble Man, which is again a way of connecting with your benevolent male essence. And I would really recommend that. And then joining a men's group. Once you've done the rites of passage with the Mankind Project, you can then join up with this thing called an I group, which is a group of men which meet every few weeks. So that's for me the king, basically. The next is the warrior. To become, this powerful man, is we have to become physically here. We have to, for me, start to connect with that warrior energy. And the first thing is get uncomfortable every day. David Goggins, the ex-Navy SEAL, talks about this. He said, we have to do some form of suffering, get uncomfortable. One of the things I do is martial arts, and I run. I do exercise every day. And it's like you might have got into that comfort zone of, I run 2 miles a day, 3 miles. Well, each day run a little bit more. It's stretching yourself, get uncomfortable, run a bit faster. Whatever it is, it's like stretching yourself so you're, becoming more present, pushing your edges and your boundaries. And for me, the warrior energy, it's about serving the realm, serving Mother Earth, rather than it just being about me, what I can get from myself, like praise, adulation, the ego. It's connecting with what may I give to Mother Earth, what may I give to the realm, asking that questions and setting your intention to serve. That's the king. That's the mature masculine. The boy, he's not interested in serving. It's all about him. And that's what the men teach him when he's initiated. It's not about you. It's about the collective. It's about the tribe. So next aspect is the magician. And for me, the magician archetype is study new things. The magician, it's like the mind. It's magic. Study new things. Get inspired. It might be learning about the archetypes, subject you want to learn about. Study it. Another thing is, get creative. Connect with, what do I want to do? Maybe it's some woodworking. Learn woodworking, get creative, get outside. Maybe it's to garden, like me and my wife love to do. It's like, get outside, maybe stone walling. It's like doing these physical things that our ancestors would have done. Connecting with that, the magician. And the lover energy is connecting to your feelings, and it might be it's painful. Channel it into music, channel it into art, channel it into singing, into dance. It's like, feel this, and the next aspect of the lover is get sensual, get sensitive. Maybe it's to cry. Robert Moore, in his book, The King, Magician, Warrior, Lover, he says that the lover energy is like feeling everything, and sometimes it's really painful, and yet the mature man feels it. He feels beneath the anger, and he feels the hurt, and he doesn't run away. It's like he cries, he feels the grief of others, and he lets it go. And the final aspect of the lover is learning to love all aspects of yourself. These shadows. We feel emasculated because we're like, I don't want to be powerful. It's like, learn to love that part of yourself. Embrace it. It's like, give to that part. It's like, how does it feel to be a man? How does it feel, that part of me, that shadow? Maybe it's the rage or the aggression. It's like, learn to love it. Doesn't mean we indulge in it. That's very different. but it's facing it. I like to use the analogy of planting your staff in one hand, shield in another, and it's like you're stood on the edge of the cliff and you're facing forward and you're facing that part of yourself. It's like, I embrace my rage, I embrace my aggression, I face you, I can feel you, and I'm not going to run. So those are just some ideas. It's like, please do comment below what you feel about, how we're as men maybe being asked to be more feminine. And I think that's really important. That's part of the lover archetypes, to be more sensitive, to be more feminine. But that warrior is just as important, to be that strong, powerful, present man who's there to serve the realm and protect the realm. So, yeah, if you've got questions, please do comment below. I always appreciate your feedback and any further questions, and that would be lovely to hear from you. So many blessings. Have an amazing few days. Bye for now.